Welcome to Declare's Delight for Life. I'm the Sensible Lady. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Declare's Delight for Life. I put the sensible and sensible and help you declare the clutter in your life. Well, today, you know, has kind of been somewhat of a difficult day. There's been a lot going on in my life, and we talk about have a great organized day. And, life sometimes throws you curveballs and you wonder why, curveballs are thrown at you. Well, as far as I'm concerned, is in my life, when that happens, you kind of you sit down and you figure out, like, okay, what can I do about it? Today was a day of being thrown curveballs about finances, being thrown curveballs about, all sorts of different things from different folks. And the only thing I do have to say is that when life throws you curveballs, sometimes you have to make lemons out of lemonade. And for me, I've had to work hard today. I've had to meditate. I've had to keep my mind clear, and I've had to keep a lot straight in my mind. And but the one thing I do have to say is that when you feel like life is being real difficult, sometimes you have to sit and think and talk to yourself. And I did that a lot today because in talking to myself, I'm able to work through problems, I'm able to work through things, I'm able to get, life, more simpler. And, all I did is I call hot pots of stews, that are really good and tasty, and I freeze them. And that way I can just pop one in the microwave and make dinner. And it's done, and add some water, and I have a nice stew for dinner. And that's simple. And, that helps organize my day too, that when I can have things prepared ahead of time. That's in cooking. Or for me is, I keep a logbook, as you can see right here, that organizes my day also. And helps me keep things straight and helps my life be much simpler. I know for myself, I was sitting and remembering a time when I was going to school for nonprofit management training, and we were talked about outcomes measurement training. And the whole thing is when people in the government receive big reports and everything else, and I used to have to put reports together for and outcome measurements. And one of my key things that I learned was to keep things simple, because too many times they got big reports of 100 or 200 pages, and they usually shoved them off to the side and didn't bother to read them. But I loved only putting like 4 or 5 page reports together, and that would include for 3 to 4 months of outcomes measurement. And they actually read them, really read them, because it was keeping things simple. Because we live in a complicated world that I think sometimes makes life a lot more difficult than it has to be. I know for myself, having to learn computers and having to, live life as it is complicated enough. Dealing with medical conditions, having to deal with, different things, and trying to keep track of everything. You sometimes feel like life is going to be a little crazy, medications, doctor's appointments, all sorts of things. But the one thing I do find is that the more healthier I get, and I'm hoping that you guys get more healthier too, that we can, all sense, you know, that's a biggie, because when we can declutter our health and get a lot healthier, then we can all, live a better life and have a much better life itself and a much more organized life. Because when one has a lot of health issues, it gets very complicated because you have doctor's appointments, medications, just different ways. And one thing I've learned is that when you look at alternatives and ways that you can help yourself, and or help others, like I like to help you guys, is that you can have a better life as a result. And you don't always have to, realize that no matter what life is bringing you, that you have to have life difficult. You can have family, you can have friends, you can have people that love you. And that when you have all these wonderful things in your life, things are a lot more organized because you have people that care about you. And having people care about you, as far as I'm concerned, is a biggie. And surrounding yourself with positive people. And too many times when we don't have positive people around us, it brings us down and we feel like we're in a cloud of negativity. And it's hard sometimes when you live in a cloud of negativity, and and you feel like, it almost feels like a depression. But when you're not in such a sense, or in that, and you surround yourself with people that are uplifting and make you feel like you're worth something, then life seems like a lot more of a joy. And as far as I'm concerned, that definitely leads to a much more organized life because you feel like doing more, you feel like being more, you feel like just being yourself. Because I love being myself to you guys, because when you're yourself, you don't have to worry about being anything else but. Because to me, going around and wearing a mask, doesn't accomplish anything in life. Being who I am is a wonderful thing. And I don't care if I got stuffed animals or I got my doggy, and having these kinds in my life. And life, you know, is what you make of it. There's an old saying, you make your own happiness where it's at. And we all get to make our own decisions in life. But I also like to add that I have the assistance of what I believe in that helps me make my choices and helps me live my life, because in having that, it gives me somewhat of a belief. And having a belief definitely gives one a much more organized life, because you have a sense of direction in your life. And having a sense of direction in my life is very important to me, and knowing where I'm going. To me, it's like a ship, you know, a ship out there in the ocean. It has to have, you know, gauges to, that a lot of things are used to gauge things by, or even satellites that, cars and other things use to help navigate. It's kind of like life itself. We all have to have things to navigate by. And when we have things we navigate by, we are just, making things a lot more accessible in our life. And I, I think about all these things, that, we do to organize our life. We use day runners, we use planners, we use phones, we use computers, we use Google calendars. But, what do we really need? What do you really need to organize your day? You know, I always like to think, what will be the simplest thing that will organize your day? I don't like to-do lists because they don't accomplish much. They just are a list. But what I'd like to say is that if you have something where you can prioritize it, kind of gives you something, an idea what you need to do for the day, and from top to bottom, and that helps something simple. Or I've heard people, they chunk things into subjects and things like that. There's that kind of thing too. But you always have to ask a question: is, that's a question I ask myself. What do I really need to organize my life? I like to keep things simple. I like to, have just a folder for something, where it belongs, and keep things in that folder, and a list of what has to happen in that folder, and, keep that simple. Or, if I have a listing of appointments and stuff, just, one area, I keep all that stuff because, you know, I think far too many things have to be complicated, that I know for myself, when I keep things simple, could easily remember them. But when I complicate things, I forget things. I've had two or three head injuries, and sometimes, yeah, I forget things and I don't have a perfect memory at all. But the one thing I do find is that when I keep things simple, and I'm hoping that you guys keep them simple as far as keeping things organized, is that, we can all, live a lot better life if we're able to, realize that the simpler you keep things, the more likely you're going to do them. Because one thing I do find is the more complicated I do something and the more time it takes to do it, to organize something, the less likely I am to do it and to do it on the long term. And that's something to keep in mind when you're wanting to organize yourself is, what will you do that will last for the long term? Not the short term, but the long term. That is, to me, the most important point. Or, for me, I'm getting rid of a whole bunch of stuff here in the next few days that I haven't opened boxes for a while. And as a result, I haven't looked at them. I'm not going to bother looking at them. I'm just going to give it away to a charity and call it good. Because, if I haven't looked at them for a while, which is left over from a flood last year, I don't need them. I got plenty. And that's another simple way of organization is that when you decide to let go of stuff, like maybe have an issue with, stuff that what we haven't looked at boxes for a long time, that we, maybe let go. Because that way, if you don't, one thing I do find is that if you don't look in the boxes, you're more likely to give it away. And that's just a little key there of letting go you might think about. Or looking at your closet and clothes, do they really fit who you are? Are they really helpful? Do they look nice on you? Are they, flattering? Do they suit your taste of what you have right now? I'm just kind of giving an idea and throwing it out there, or even shoes. I having been, big all my life, and then in that, I have to admit, I have a little bit of a fetish for clothes and things like that. But the one thing I am finding is that, letting go of clothes that don't suit me anymore actually makes me feel better and I have a better closet. And, there's another way of organizing your day is, letting go of stuff that you don't need anymore. Or, a lot of us have knickknacks. Think about that. How many knickknacks do you have, or how many knickknacks do you really need? What will look nice in your home. I've gotten rid of a lot of knickknacks here lately myself, and I've rather enjoyed the look of having less instead of a lot more. Sometimes less is more as far as, keeping more things organized in a day. And sometimes you can accomplish more when you have less, because sometimes we try to put too much into one day. And believe me, having dealt with that flu, you realize that sometimes you put too much into one day, and that definitely can disorganize a day. What I would really like to come to you guys and have this finish off is that, I want you to kind of think of things, and, I'm going to kind of give you, three questions here and hopefully leave you with something to think about. Is that, one, really, how do you want to organize your day? What will keep things simple for you? You know, and how can you simplify it is what you can do. And three, what would be the best way for you to think about maybe decluttering some stuff out of your life? With that, I wish you a great Declutter's Delight for life. Have hope and peace and love and tranquility, and let there be a light in your eyes, and have a great one.